Week two, UVA football faces NC State. Let's go through the things to watch for in the matchup. Chris Graham against the Free Press. So, as of the last time I looked, which was yesterday, to be honest, I'm recording this on Friday. Game is at 12 o'clock noon on Saturday. Virginia, a 2.5 point underdog at NC State. So, what that says to me is that the Vegas folks haven't caught on to the UVA football quite yet. We're only one game in. What I saw last week was what I expected out of a $30 million roster. So that's credit to the folks who made the money available and then Tony Elliott for using it right. What I like most about this team is that the defense is big, fast, athletic, and deep. And I think that's going to be the deciding factor on Saturday down in Raleigh. So, five things to watch for. First one, State won't be able to run the ball. Wolfpack had 109 sack adjusted rushing yards in its 24 to 17 win over ECU last week one on Thursday night. The bulk of the success for the tailback, Hollywood Smothers, all named team nominee, by the way, came outside the tackles. Between the tackles, 9 carries, 15 yards for Smothers. The UVA interior is bigger, to say the least, and better than ECU's interior. And the outside backers are faster. That's going to make it a challenge for NC State, I would say, to be able to get some yards on the ground. If you're not able to run the ball up, between the basically the A gap, and then if you can't get to the outside, that's going to make you one-dimensional. Um, Point number two, things to watch for. Point number two, got to keep the wideouts in check. Now, this is the challenge for the UVA defense. I think that they'll stop the running game. They'll stop the stuff up the middle and they'll prevent the stuff to the ends, make State one-dimensional. That means CJ Bailey is going to be throwing the ball a lot. He threw the ball a lot last week, 318 yards, 24 of 34 through the air. The bulk of that, though, was short stuff. 17 of 17 within 9 yards of the line of scrimmage for 110 yards. Um, his wide receiver duo, Wesley Grimes had 4 catches on 5 targets, 121 yards. Teddy Hoffman had 5 catches on 6 targets for 93 yards. They had big days in that win over ECU. The slot guy, not so much. 6'3" redshirt sophomore Keenan Jackson got 32 pass snaps in the slot, had just 2 targets and just 1 catch, an 11-yard reception. Virginia's deep secondary unit is going to be front and center here. 9 guys got at least 19 snaps last week. Now, this secondary is a five-man secondary. The Virginia defensive alignment is a 4-2-5 or a 3-3-5. Basically, it's four down linemen, or one guy is among those four with his, basically standing up, but he's a defensive end type pass rusher. So the secondary is 5 guys. 9 guys got 19 snaps or more snaps last week. They just need to limit the damage downfield. It'll help if the pass rush can get some pressure on Bailey. Bailey was 4 of 7 for 171 yards last week in passes that traveled 20 plus yards through the air. Make it tough for him. Pin your ears back, defensive linemen, backers, and take his time away to throw the ball and then tackle guys on their short stuff. And the defense will do its job. Now, on the offensive side, point number three in my five things to watch, establish a ground game. All right, so take away their ground game and establish your own. This is kind of basics football 101, but one thing I didn't like last week, Virginia had its leading rush. The leading rusher was quarterback Chandler Morris, and 41 of his 50 rushing yards came on scrambles. And he got hurt on the last scramble, as we all know. He's a full go for this weekend, but the 28-yard scramble, and he's got wheels. He didn't lumber down the field. He streaked through the middle of the field on that scramble, but Des Kitchings needs to leave the read options out of the attack this week and maybe going forward for this season. Um, and also, they just need to be whispering in his ear, don't pull the ball down and run. As much as possible, stay back there or just get rid of the ball. It's not worth losing your starting quarterback, your seven-figure starting quarterback, to get a few yards on the ground. Now, the running between tackles last week for the UVA tailbacks was productive. 104 yards on 26 attempts, 4.0 yards per attempt. That's pretty good. Um, if you can get that in the A gap. So more of that, to establish, shorter second downs, shorter third downs, keeping the chains moving. Point number four of my five things to watch: Cam Ross, more Cam Ross. And not just for the Cam Ross factor. Cam Ross, the JMU transfer, played 1 year at JMU after 4 years, 5 years at UConn. One of the years UConn didn't play in 2020, and then in 2021, 2022, he was injured, medical red shirts. This kid's a difference maker, though, in the slot. 124 yards receiving last week, 7 catches on 9 targets, 81 of his yards coming after the catch. 100-yard kickoff return. I mean, the guy, you can see the athleticism when you watch. He's got kick returner skills as a pass catcher as well. Him operating in the middle of the field then opens things up for the guys at wideout. The 6 foot, 200 pound wideout, Trell Harris, who last week had 3 catches for 93 yards, and then Jamal Edron, the Purdue transfer, who didn't have a big game numbers wise, did have a touchdown catch. But man, get him one on one at 6'3" there on the edge, and then Harris, who himself is a speedster at 6 feet tall on the edge, makes it tough to decide. If you decide you want to double one of those guys or two of those guys, then that's great. That opens up lanes for the running backs. Also, I mean, you don't want Chandler Morris running the ball. If he there was, I think it was actually the play, the 28-yard scramble. He pulled it down because Coastal Carolina was in man defense on that particular snap, and when you're in man and your eyes as a defensive back are on your receiver, the quarterback, if he's got numbers, can take advantage of that. So that's because you have a guy like Cam Ross, because you have Harris and Edrine, even Dakota Twitty, the 6'5" tight end. You can't double everybody, and that does open up things for the running game. So that's a complementary part of the offense there. Point number five to watch for here: controlling the line of scrimmage. Again, elementary football strategy, right? I mean, control the line of scrimmage. But this is where the game is won, and the Virginia O-line kept pressure off Morris, open up enough for the run game. Again, the 4 yards between tackles, 4 yards per carry between tackles. The D line only had one late game sack, but before John Ruzinski, the defensive coordinator, started subbing quite liberally after the game got out of hand. MJ Morris, I should say, the quarterback for Coastal Carolina, was just 5 of 17 passing. His numbers came after Ruzinski started subbing the threes and fours in for the ones and twos. And no offense, but that's padding the stats. So even if you don't get a pass rush to get sacks on the quarterback, if you can make him get rid of the ball quicker, and your defensive backs don't have as much time to need to stick with their guys, that can all that works together complementary defense wise. So State had trouble running on the interior. Need to keep that advantage going, and that's the key, basically, for Virginia in this game. So the analysis for me, again, I mentioned that NC State 2.5 point home favorite. I like this Virginia team. It's only one weekend, but to me, the defense first and foremost is the reason this team will win a couple extra games, maybe than it should. Big, fast, deep, talented. Take a page from the Tony Bennett basketball philosophy. Offense can come and go, but your defense travels. It's early in the season for the offenses to be running at full capacity, and that's for everybody, not just NC State or Virginia. But defenses, again, they travel, and I like Virginia's defense to carry the day in this one. I'm projecting a 24-13 Virginia win. So I guess if I were betting, I think I mentioned this on a podcast I did earlier this week. If I were a betting man, I would definitely take the points, and I would take the under. I don't see this being a very high scoring game, and I do see Virginia controlling the line of scrimmage and keeping that NC State offense largely in check. So again, the kickoff tomorrow is 12 o'clock noon. I think the game is on ESPN2. I will not be covering in person, covering from the home office. Hopefully, honestly, sitting outside in the backyard with the big screen TVs. If the weather holds up, not only here in Virginia, but also down in central North Carolina. We are expecting the release forecast of some bad weather, hit or miss thunderstorms really up and down the eastern mid-Atlantic seaboard. And so hopefully, we're only there for 3.5 hours watching the game, but it could very well be there could be a weather delay. In any case, I'll be doing a live blog during the game, live coverage blog during the game, just to sort of share observations and kind of covering the game as it happens. And then of course afterwards, we'll have post game analysis, snippets from the press conferences as Tony Elliott's staff, players weigh in, and more. So, if you have any questions for me, feel free to drop me a line at chris@augustafreepress.com.